Good day, neighbor. I can't believe I finally made my dreams come true. This is my 1999 Isuzu VehiCROSS, my dream car, and I have finally acquired it. I've had this for about 2 months, so I want to go over just a handful of things that I've come to find about it, things that I find are interesting, and why this was my dream car and why I like it so dang much. But first, I want to tell you just a little bit of background on what this vehicle is. They only ran these for about 3 years in the US market. This is one of about 4,000 that have actually made it into the United States. So it is a very rare vehicle. For those of you who don't know, I am a parts guy by career, so I know what parts are available and what parts are not available. Luckily, this shares a lot of parts with the Trooper and with the Chevy Blazer S10, a couple of those things. So therefore, parts are available, and that made it very appealing for me to actually end up with one of these one day, because I knew I could actually get stuff for it, despite how rare it actually is. This is equipped with a 3.5 liter V6 and an automatic transmission. One thing that really appealed to me was that this has a solid axle in the rear and is a body on frame construction. So unlike my Grand Cherokee that I love, this is more built like a truck. In theory, it's more sturdy just because of how it's built. It's sturdy. This vehicle is weird, and that's why I like it so much. The problem with it being weird is that it does nothing good. Not one thing this vehicle does I feel like it does particularly well. Probably my biggest gripe with this is the short wheelbase on it. That's a really big learning curve I've been having to figure out while driving this. When you're going down the trail, you're just doing this the whole time. You're jumping back and forth between your front and rear axle. You're always picking up a tire, and frankly, it's just pretty uncomfortable. I bought this to be my daily driver / my overland rig, and it's been a real fun challenge getting to figure out how to wheel this thing on the trail. My other big gripe, coming from my Grand Cherokee that has a V8, is how severely underpowered this thing is. I have a real hard time pulling into traffic and just ripping it like I do my Jeep. That's enough yapping. Let's start moving on to our walkthrough on this. Let's take a look at what's on the outside of this thing. What originally got me sold on this vehicle is how weird it looks. There's nothing else out there. It just has these body lines all crazy like that. The trim that goes up on the sides and this whole front end, it looks like a character from Lilo and Stitch. I don't know his name, but he looks like a real ugly mug. The lights on this thing are really fun. If you watch the Doug DeMuro review, he talks about how these lights have these little horns on there. They're kind of just a cute little thing that I like also. It just looks kind of funny. When I bought it, I had some different wheels and tires on there. So these ones are a set of Fuel Vectors, and I have some Falcon Wild Peak AT3s on there. Those were my choice. I really wanted those wheels and tires on this thing, so that's what I went with. One fun thing, the reason they made such a small amount of these is because of the molds they actually used at the factory, and that's how they got all these funny ridges and weird shapes in it, is because they were using, if I'm not mistaken, it's like an old school kind of like clay mold or casting of some sort that makes it look the way that it does. Taking a look at it from the rear, they've got the spare tire that's actually stored inside of the trunk, and I'd say out of everything on this vehicle, my number one gripe is the only way to open this hatch is going to be with the key there in the back. That's kind of inconvenient. Every time you need back there, even if it's running, you're doing anything, you've got to bring the key back, unlock it, and then open the door that way. This fuel cap right here is also kind of fun. It's the same thing as the back door. You can only open that with the key. And I feel like it's really dated. This really reminds me of something that's like the Fast and the Furious, real 2000s era look on there. I don't know too much about this vehicle's actual history, but apparently it must have attended the Moab Zuzu trip in 2016. That used to be a big Isuzu trip that they did every year. So that one, if anybody knows about this and knows this from back then, I guess let me know. That'd be kind of cool to find out some prior ownership on it. Another thing I think is really fun is these back windows. How they're split like this, because right where you always need to see is right where this pillar is right there. You just can't see. This thing is impossible to back out of parking stalls and stuff. Obviously you can do it, but it's not that easy. I will be getting a roof rack set up on this at some point, but this one has a funny flush mount set up on there. So pretty much the only crossbars that fit on top of this are going to be for other VehiCROSSes on there. There are a couple guys that have found the Audi Q5 stuff works for it on some of their newer models, so that might be an option that I'm going to explore on there. One thing that is particularly fun about mine in particular is at some point somebody has gone and actually debadged or taken off the emblems that go on the side. So right here, that's the only spot on the vehicle that is going to say VehiCROSS, and mine doesn't even have that. So that raises even more questions as to what it is when people see me at the gas station. What they did leave was my crusty old 3.5 liter badge though. Nice. This right here is another one of those Daddy Doug quirks and features, is an anti-glare vinyl wrap that they actually put on the hoods on these. I plan to redo that one, something that's pretty neat. That's to come in the future, and we'll talk about it when I do it. Go follow me on Instagram. That's probably where you'll see it first. That is going to wrap it up for the exterior of the vehicle. Let's move on to the interior. So we'll grab our dinky Japanese door handle and open it up. The first standout thing on this is going to be the red interior, which I really do like. It really makes it look sporty and extra fun. I like things that are extra fun. My gripe, these door panels, this steering wheel, all of it just still feels like cheap Japanese built stuff. You would think that their original asking price of $1 billion for this thing, they would have put a bit more care into the interior design. But no, they still stuck with cheap Japanese stuff. It's like driving a 4Runner. It does come with these factory Recaro seats, which is really cool. I like how they've got VehiCROSS embossed right into it. But they're old and they're pretty ripped up, so these ones probably ought to get reupholstered at some point. Then we move on to the center console area. The shifter is really just basic. It's really cheap. Let me show you a fun little Easter egg on this thing. I love these little gator lights. They're kind of nice. I don't always drink as much water as I should, so that kind of helps me out. It's a nice little treat. But it's the only thing that fits directly into that dang cup holder. I don't know if I'm missing an insert or something there, but for some reason, they made the cup holder square. Most things I drink are actually round, but I'm no engineer. This passenger side right here is in a lot better shape, period, just because nobody ever really gets to sit there. So yeah, if only I could have this passenger side look as good as the driver's side right here, that'd be awesome. So in my opinion, this interior, it's cool because it's red, but it leaves a lot to be desired, especially for it being this like cool enthusiast car and everything. It's just red interior. That's really all it is. Now getting into our cargo area, the space really is not bad. I've already taken out the back seat on here just because I wanted the extra cargo space, but by the time I'd put the back seat up, I couldn't push the driver's seat far enough back for my tall, dumb body. This back hatch normally has a big plastic cover that's over it, but this one was already damaged and destroyed, so it kind of wasn't worth keeping it on there. If every time I was going to open this door, my plastic that I can't get anywhere was falling on the blacktop, that wasn't very nice. Not nice. But what I plan to do one day is take this spare tire out, and I've seen a few people make this like a little cargo area. So this stuff that's sitting around in there, I'll be able to put it right there. It'll be a nice little cubby for me. And that will wrap it up for the interior on here. Let's move into the engine bay. One thing that's a big selling point to me on this thing was the engine bay. This is nothing but simple engineering. There is nothing crazy going on in here, and for that, I'm quite thankful. You see, there's not a big plastic cover or anything goofy like that. You just have this that covers the intake manifold, and that's really it. So far, what I have had to do is redo all the power steering hoses over here. That was, again, part of the reason why I got it for a good deal and everything, is because all these hoses were kind of just old and rotted out, so they were leaking from all the hydraulic fittings on there, which I didn't know until I was in it. But a lot of the VehiCROSS guys joke around and actually say it's like the worst repair that you're ever going to have to do. So in order to do that, you got to pull out your radiator, whole fan clutch comes off, might as well pull out your air box and do 10 other things while you're in there. So that's what I had to do, just pulled everything out just to get to those hoses down there. So that's kind of a pain in the butt. So at least I feel good knowing that I've done one of the worst repairs on this thing already, and I don't really have to worry too much beyond that. One thing I was warned about with these before I got it was how much oil they consume. A lot of the guys say that every time you fill up on gas, you need to check your oil, and I found that to be true with this also. For every tank of gas, I'm probably burning a quart of oil, which I think might actually be a little excessive. I'm running a 10W40 in here because that's what was recommended to stop burning a little bit on there. And the burning has stayed the same. The oil really hasn't changed anything on it. So frankly, that's a disappointment, but it is what it is. Another one of my buddies, he's a real Isuzu guy. He said that you actually need to check your gas every time you fill up your oil. So that's kind of funny. Maybe I'll have to start doing that too. There you go. That's the engine bay. There really is not too much to it. That was a lot of yapping about this thing. And I don't want you to get confused here and think that I actually just hate this thing. I just told you everything about it that's kind of weird. There is a lot to love with this vehicle. When you get down to the basics, it's a four-wheel drive vehicle, it looks weird, and people love to talk about it. I love to yap about my cars, and this has opened a lot of doors. Just being at the grocery store, being at the gas station, everywhere I go, somebody wants to talk to me about what this is. And I'm happy to just sit there and tell them all about it, because I think it's that cool. If you're looking to pick one of these up, they are a little tricky to find, in good shape, I should say. Don't let my reasons to gripe about it scare you away. I think what's important to learn here is to love all the things that are not great about it. In my opinion, this thing's not a great vehicle, but I tell you what, it's really cool, and that's worth it to me. I don't mind driving something to work every day that's kind of weird and 100% is just not practical. I don't care. It's fun though. That's why I'm into it. That's why I enjoy this thing as much as I do. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. Ask me any questions you want. You can also find me on Instagram and follow me there. That's where I'm pretty interactive with folks if you've got questions. But there you have it. The 1999 Isuzu VehiCROSS. What a wonderful treat it is. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.